Hi all. Um, just a random ass video in my job. I stayed on a bunch of random shit. I wrote it all down, but it's kind of all scribble and doesn't make sense. So yeah. Part of this video was based on like a couple of years ago. At work, I was like talking about three, and I was finding out about three and what like the different things from three could mean. Like it could mean heaven, hell, earth, good, bad, neutral, good, bad, neutral. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Maiden, Mother, Crone, beginning, middle, end, all these different things. And someone also claimed this three um, could represent like a devil's three-way or the devil's three-way in some evil sense of the word. And one of these people is always unwilling in this situation, which also reminds me of a situation to do with Max, Peter, or Charlie, or whatever the name was. I think it was Peter, not like the one I live with, but something to do with like them watching the TV show about something or someone, and there was a Snapchat code to certain people, and them scanning it and getting the person there to find out about it, and someone's always unwilling, and they're like, "Oh, it's okay, you don't want to do it, cancel, just go to sleep, I won't do it," and then sleep rapist, evil, fucking horror bitches. And there's also reminds me of like the, um, what happened at that school, what happened in this situation, which is interesting. And then we've got the false judgment and accusations on certain people to do with situations because, like, a town or population or certain people has said things and horrid things or certain situations and evil things against or about someone. And it could always not be what it seems. There's ex Peter in my dreams that I saw, like, when I was a young child or even before I was born, possibly. They kind of actually look like war, like the demon or the horseman of war themselves, which was kind of interesting. This like Charlie or Peter person, not the one I live with right now, obviously. Which reminds me of the false prophet situation. Like there's many false prophets or false prophet syndrome. Like I look at these videos, some of my videos disappeared, like 10 of them, and some of them show up. And you see all these people come up with the same content of the videos of mine that disappeared or in the time that it took to upload, like 3 days sometimes. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 3 days. And they have all the exact same shit with all this motivational videos and these people claiming to talk to God themselves and be like the prophet of God and all this weird shit, which is weird because this is obviously not going to be me. I don't think it's me, but it's kind of interesting in retrospect how they can come up with the same shit and get 100,000 views and my videos disappear. It changes. It kind of scares me of the false prophets to lead into the future situations. It also reminds me of the theory. I'm not sure if this is on a video that disappeared or not, so I'm saying some of the shit again. Like some of my shit is just recycled in videos, but yeah, whatnot. Who cares? The word slot, right? It doesn't necessarily mean what it is. Some people think slot means like a being without their powers or abilities. Slot. The word slot itself can generally be used by people in their mentality or mindset to refer to someone they're jealous of, who has something they want, someone who is unwilling to do something. Um, uh, Someone who has something someone wants that they're without, someone who's unwilling, someone who is without their ability or power. Um, or it's like a derogatory term, which means someone unwilling as well. So that's like there's four of them, but that's main things. Uh, or there's jealousy, or they don't like someone as well, and they're trying to derogatize someone. So I think like the word itself is kind of like a cuss or a curse word. It's interesting. Which reminds me of like unseen influences. You never know if there's unseen influences in the background, someone who knows or something talking to a situation, like a door or a portal opened by someone, which kind of reminds me of the situation to do with my stepfather when I was a child at a house where they were getting us to put Hessian bags at all four corners of the property. Then I questioned, I was like, no, I don't want to do this, I don't trust you, and I opened it and there was bones in there. And they had us bury it at all four corners of the property, which I swear opened this weird ass portal to all these twisted people being things with all these white faces and opened some weird ass portal up and blah blah blah. And I had the dream or delusion that I found like this looking glass which is kind of like church stained windows, um church glass windows with like a teddy bear on it, and it like kind of took natural abilities and blessings out and replaced them with this like weird wavy energy thing, which is some of it before this was explained as diamond energy, but replaced it with this energy that only burns or punishes or pushes back or these evil beings, and it like heals people and humans or good beings. It heals them and it hurts the evil beings and the wicked beings, which is interesting. Um, Yeah, I don't know why I put this down, but it's kind of like one of the videos I was watching from this chosen 144 guy was about music. Um, and it reminded me of a situation where someone messaged me about my Music Maker Jam account because my emails keep accidentally changing the passwords to something they're not and switching passwords around with the old one somehow. And someone used my old Music Maker Jam as an influence for their song, and that became quite popular. And I was like, that's pretty cool. You know, the half muses and they get their face tattoos one day, and the tattoos of a muse or a half muse, which I thought was kind of interesting, but not relevant, but I thought it was cool. Um, which also reminds me, like I was looking at my scars the other day, and I literally watched a scar on the arm from where my ex cut down one on my arm because I refused to do like these evil things and these magic, evil, satanic situations and bitch things and all this with that with them. And they tried cutting me from here to here, and they cut me from here to here, like on the vein, and tried to make me bleed out. And that scar seems to disappear and reappear, which is kind of like the one on my chest. But I tested the one on my chest because I thought I smelled makeup on my towel, and I like washed it off, and the scar got bigger. And it's interesting because I've had certain psychologists lock me up for like a year or 2 years of my life because they think I could be schizophrenic with this or that when half the shit I see turns out to be real or is from the past trauma. And they're like, you're paranoid, blah, blah, blah. You must be unwell. But I'm like, paranoia comes from literally seeing my own heart beating and having a scar to prove it, from almost having it cut out by an evil satanic ex, which is kind of interesting. But at the same time, I'm like, yes, why no? Anyway, yeah. Yes, my stepfather, when they were younger, was an evil, horrid rapist being, and they had a very long tongue, I believed. Like, their tongue was unnaturally long, which I considered to be like something I called the evil tongue. Um, and they had that weird ass thing with trying to bury the Hessian bags with bones at all four corners of the property, north, east, south, and west. Getting my sister Chloe, Zach, and Brittany, and me all to do it. And I opened mine, and I swear it was just like weird ass magical white light when the soul was released, but that was probably psychosis from trauma, from past events and seeing bones in there. And, they were trying to open this portal with this horrible situation, and we ended up concreting and sealing off the basement. And I swore like it took natural abilities and turned into other abilities and gave other abilities, but it took your abilities somehow, which is kind of weird. And it only burnt evil or horrid or wicked, mean, like evil beings that did bad stuff, and it heals the good people and restores energy at the same time, which I thought was kind of interesting. Um, which reminds me of my stepfather's theories and views on the pineapple. Like, you might have heard a joke about a pineapple. My stepfather, before that came out, actually did something to do with a pineapple joke, which was actually a weird joke to do with a pedophile ring. Funny enough, the pineapple joke that certain people love and certain people know about. Um, which is that like they get children to go in there and they rape them and they do something with a pineapple that they barely remember, and they do all these horrible things, and they make up lies about these children and what they are and what they do and what they say, so no one will believe or question it. But it's kind of all lies, which is kind of interesting and scary. It's horrible things. But yeah, anyway. This also brings me forward to remind me of situations in life to do with like my ex trying to willingly join all these gangs because they couldn't rape and murder people on their own because they were too weak, and blah blah blah, and claiming they were the victim every time they lost and couldn't rape or murder someone or lost, which was interesting, going straight to manipulation. Like I myself saved, I added all the money up that I saved from working jobs. Like half of it was saved from jobs, and some of it was like my ex with a gun to my head, forcing me to do things, mainly before I turned 18, or people like threatening me online and then stealing and taking the money. Sometimes who are no longer in my life, which is interesting up until the age around when I turned 25, and I added it all up, and it's all like all the money I earned that was stolen from me is probably over $400,000 at least total. So my ex, like Sam, would probably have a house by now, like maybe 7 years ago or something, or 6 or 7, maybe not even 7 years ago, like later than that. I don't know. You don't always see what you know. Sometimes you're just told and you don't know, and you don't see what you see, and you just assume these things for those manipulators who don't get what they want and they do things. Like, for instance, my ex at certain points was trying to claim I was cheating, but they were putting a fucking gun up to my head and forcing me to do things, and that was like situations with them forcing people to do things in three-way situations where they would abuse around and threaten to beat you and beat people and rape them and hurt them in their sleep if they didn't do these situations. Not talking about the ex with the Snapchat code thing, which was what I was talking about before. But it's kind of like horrible situations, and like some people don't question. Some people are like, oh, some people just cry during sex. Like, sure, it can be sometimes I've cried during sex because of trauma related to sex in the past, but sometimes you should probably check why that is. You know what I mean? It's interesting. Um, or like even putting a knife to the throat and forcing someone to have sex, like, and then people saying, "Oh, that person's a slut, they're this or that. That's why they do that. That's why they're always constantly walking around, acting and looking like that." But this person's like traumatized in a horrible situation or trying to get out of it. You know, not everyone is nice people. Some people get off on this charisma view, or it's like, oh, it's what people think of you. You've got to work all the time. You've got to be this. I work all the time. I talk to people. People believe me. People trust me. People like me. So that makes me the good person or the right person, apparently. And history will tell my story my way, not the way it is. And there's nothing you can do about it because I have the greater majority vote for manipulating, but it's not always as black and white as it seems. So, you know, sometimes you got to know and check in on people and people you know. It's kind of like caring about and loving the neighbor. Always check in on them in these situations. Not saying these people will always tell the truth to you because some of them could be scared, some of them could not know, some of them could have been hit in the head and not remember properly whether or not it's like some weird ass curse hitting thing. Like even my ex hit me in the head a lot. My stepfather would hit me in the head with a hammer sometimes, rarely, which I'm not sure if it's like that or ADD or the medication they had me on that linked to me having an allegedly severely impacted memory, which is kind of interesting. Um, I forgot about that completely and didn't even realize I remember. Some people need to like uh see you for what you are and not what they think you are or conceive you are, but what you actually are. If people see beings for what they actually are, rather than what they want to see or what they perceive what they actually are to be good, and it'll help them perceive people because you know, like so many different things could happen if someone sees you as they want to see you, not as what you are. They could see you or belittle you or say you're not this or you're not that because they don't know you or they don't know your story, they don't know this or that. But some people could have been through some shit and they could have came out the bottom or they could have came out on top secretly. Like something born out of necessity, which is kind of interesting. Um, yeah, and it also reminds me of all these things. Like I've seen all these videos about bathe it in fire, holy fire, burn it with holy fire. But as far as I learn and know from the Bible to do with God and all these situations, it was never holy fire that burned evil beings in the Bible. It was actually holy water that burned these beings because holy water burns evil. So does silver. So I don't know why they're talking about burning these beings by fire and holy fire and shit. Because holy water burns evil and sinful beings. So if you want to burn these sinful and evil beings or test them, I think you're supposed to put holy water on them, like some people do, which is kind of interesting. This thought was inspired by a video of Tookie on YouTube because it reminded me of that theory I had. Um, you know, things can be relevant, what you see versus what you know. Like an example of this story was when I was like 12, um, and um, like I was running around on the ripstick because I got one. I was like, fuck yeah, I have a ripstick, it's fun, I'm cool. My brother had one and I was jealous. I got one now. And my stepfather would just randomly walk up or push me up or try to get my brother to push me off the ripstick and get a broken or bloody or like a wound in the knee, which was kind of near where they had shot me once. And um yeah, um and they would just say, "Oh, they fell off. They're being a baby. They're such a crybaby. This or that, blah blah." But this like person is secretly bullying people and pushing them off and doing these horrible things, and no one says a question it, which I think is interesting, because it's all about perspective versus what you see and what you know and what you think you know because you're told, and that's what you're perceived to see. You know, it's kind of like a relevancy situation, or like kind of like being a sookie in the situation like that is kind of what like that represents a means or a code, which I think is kind of interesting. Like a sucky person is interesting. It also reminds me of the theory about siphons and drains being real to do with energy and making energy and feeling it all be drained or disappear or go away pretty quickly, which is interesting. Which reminds me of a video I saw, I can't remember where it was from, about blessings or real or actual blessings um, being feared. Actual blessings being feared for their power or what they possess because people don't perceive it, people don't know it. and they're scared of these people because some of these people represent kindness and loving and respect and healing and given, but some of these blessings will bring about punishment as well. And like the punishment of the people, but it'll look like a bad thing, but this is going to save a greater collective by bringing them into the knowledge of what they know and what they should be, rather than sugarcoating it and making it all pretty. Like these people will actually know, and this person could get hated for it. This person could look down upon or let down, but like people knowing could make a difference. I mean, not saying necessarily a mass mob is going to be a good thing or a good idea, but in certain situations, people knowing means more people will keep an eye out for it or know what to not do in the future as well, interestingly enough. I had a dream once about someone who was quite good at playing piano, and someone was trying to pretend to be this person, and someone was a piano player in heaven. They were in heaven and they played the piano. That's where a lot of people recognize them from somewhere. And this person originally would play the piano in heaven till it bleeds, and they would come back down. And this person in heaven, they weren't taught to play from the notes or from the sheets or what they see or what they know. They were learnt to play from the soul and from the heart and from the sound and what they feel. So they would just play the piano based on what they feel, and they would like learn push every key back and forth a couple of times, and they would learn the notes and learn the key. And they would make their own sound, their own songs, which reminds me of a situation when I was in music class. The first time I was with a piano, I'd play the notes, and then I tried to play a song based on what I thought was cool or good. Um, and um, like when I played the song, they're like, "Oh, you played it wrong." I was like, "What are you talking about? I was just making that up." And like, "Don't lie. Who taught you? They taught you wrong. I want to teach you better. You did it wrong." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And apparently, like, I almost exactly perfectly played like this fucking Mozart or Da Vinci or some weird shit song, but I played it slightly wrong, which I thought was kind of interesting because I just made that up on the spot. Um, and I got it almost perfect to like this Mozart song, apparently. But that was just as I saw it, and that was just like my first time within like 30 minutes of my first time playing piano, trying to do that and play it, which is interesting. Which reminds me of this one time on a particular piano. I won't say who got this, but I played the piano from mind and heart and soul rather than playing from a script. And someone thought I was playing it wrong, but then like somehow it made a side compartment open on this piano, and they found a little scroll, which I thought was kind of interesting. Um, from the soul, not the sheets. Make this up from the soul. Which is interesting because I'll make all these songs or these situations just by playing the notes and playing from the soul, but I'll never be able to remember or recreate these things in these songs or these situations because I don't know what fucking notes I'm playing. I just play it as it is, or play it for the time or the sound or the feels. I'm not going to remember these situations or songs twice, which is interesting. And it's kind of like people talking shit and lying because they're manipulative bitches who know they're fucked and they've done wrong and they're trying to drag everyone down to the same level as them. It's kind of like, why would these beings see the need to go in the background and manipulate? Why don't they just say it to someone's motherfucking face? Are they too pathetic? Do they know how pathetic they are secretly? It's kind of interesting. These people clearly don't have morals or value or strength if they're doing that. There is the exception of espionage to do with winning a good situation, but it's kind of interesting. I think this or that. It's kind of interesting. I'm like, what? No, who knows? You can never know. You know what I mean? Vengeance or justice can be a bittersweet taste. Um, which is kind of interesting. Some people say vengeance is best served cold. That's red hot vengeance, but I think how warm you serve vengeance or how cold you serve vengeance is dependent on the situation and the taste of the person. You know what I mean? It can be a bittersweet dish. Um, which reminds me of a dream I had as a child. About like a fence to do with a situation to do with an electric fence and a snake, and someone being an angel or an actual angel, and not knowing or questioning it, who was placed there about or around or after a situation where someone was claiming like God is an almighty controller that has controls for all people and this or that, but someone has free will, which I think is kind of interesting. Um, but I'm not sure. It's obviously just a dream, which is interesting. Someone out there will create what is destroyed as well. So, like this in this dream, someone is constantly using the energy or magic to create what is being destroyed around them. So it looks like someone is just there spazzing out. doing nothing, but they're actually trying to destroy everything, and someone is just constantly creating what they destroy. Someone is like seen or worshipped as a being or a deity or goddess of destruction and death and then rebirth, but actually they're just destruction, and they went into manipulation after that because what they're destroying was being reformed or healed or recreated, which was interesting. Which reminds me of the theory: if thieves or liars or these situations claim to be or steal this that it's not theirs, then the time or effort it took them to do this, they won't train their own and they won't actually be that strong. And because they have stolen it as punishment from the universal karma, they will be without their own, which I thought was very interesting and cool theories. You know, if someone steals your strength, they'll be without their own. Someone steals your money, they'll have your money, but they won't have any of their own, and they won't have their own source or way to create their own instead of doing it themselves, which is kind of interesting. They could be using these skills differently to create their own in certain ways or situation, which I thought was kind of cool. Which is also like a dream I had about a child about half angels and dragons, and like someone like a redhead and someone called Jack in a caravan situation to do with this or that, and someone being related to the redhead, and someone else who was also apparently someone called Madison's cousin, and Jack they're related to as well, which I thought was kind of interesting. Which reminds me of another dream that I had. I was told that apparently the name psychic or the being psychic who guides people is actually the name of an angel to do with like a being in the background, like a kind of hairy being with a vest, who is like a bear like looking being who's always in the background of certain situations and psychics. And apparently, psychic could actually be the name of a being or an angel, not just a thing people possess, which I thought was an interesting theory. I don't know if it's true or not. Someone who's not what they seemed. Some people might be forced or not willing to do situations or circumstances or situations. To do with like even if you believe in like the witchcraft situation, some people try and do witchcraft. In this situation, some of those people are unwilling to do it. Some of them are willingly doing it, opening the portal and calling these beings in there. Some of them are like the demon in their true form, and some of them are possessed. You know, it's all these different situations of circumstances that happens when someone tries to do this without being born into it and all working from themselves and calling on other beings. It's interesting. Like this always results in something hearing in this or that, which I thought was interesting. Um, yeah, you know, sometimes you gotta let certain things or people or beings go if it affects you too much or it's too bad for you, causing you too much. I know my videos probably aren't good or don't have too many point, but I'm trying to put real life situations and dreams to do with. I've got to like read the dream dictionary in general to see what the meanings of all these different dreams are. But I hope it helps someone out there. Sometimes you hear the saying "curiosity killed the cat." But curiosity also created the billionaire sometimes. Sometimes curiosity killed the cat, but then you get sometimes curiosity or it also helps the billionaire, makes the billionaire. The billionaire wouldn't be themselves without curiosity. So it's an interesting saying. Curiosity kills a cat allegedly, but it also makes the man, which is interesting. It reminds me of unnatural changes in situations in life, which is kind of like how does someone go from exercising, working out, and they look like something when they wake up and they haven't eaten something in a day, and their belly gets fatter and their butt somehow gets swollen, looks like liposuction, and it changes within an hour or two from what it was, and it's constantly changing, which is kind of interesting. I don't understand this. I know about like a certain mirror effect, which is interesting, but this or that, like it's kind of interesting. I don't know. It's like unnatural differences or changes. There's also bloating. There's also perception of self and how we perceive ourselves as well, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. Which also reminds me of the situation to do with like false people and certain things and beings. Like you know, I have these people coming out with the same content and making some of my videos and getting these hundreds of thousands of followers and people in these situations hundreds of thousands of followers and stuff they get, and they're saying this and they're claiming to talk to God themselves and be blessed or like leaders or prophets or making these inspirational videos, which is kind of cool because if it's an inspirational that's going to help someone, it's like at least someone else had this thought and it got out there and they helped someone. But at the same time, I'm kind of sad it's not mine because it was my thoughts and my ideas or what I've heard or known or said. And these other beings are coming out with it first in the time that it somehow takes my videos. Sometimes it takes an hour, but sometimes it takes 3 days to upload. And in this 3 days, someone else comes out with the exact same video as me, and gets hundreds of thousands of followers, or and claims to talk to God themselves, or it's interesting because I thought that would make someone bleed out of the nose and die, um, or like it's kind of interesting. Why would it work for them and not me if I've made these videos myself originally? It's kind of interesting. Maybe it's to do with the judgment and testament and testing of people and why they would deem something better or worthy of something of other just because another has said it, even though they don't know themselves to be a credible source based on the lies and gossip. I almost said gossip. Um, even certain situations to do with like someone wakes up with a scar on something and it's a different size of situation, and their friend says, "Oh, well, it's because you gained weight or you lost weight." But when this particular thing happened, they were the same weight for the next 2 weeks, and then they get sent somewhere and deemed crazy, and then they put them on pills or drugs. It makes them change weight so that it would make sense, but it's small, it's like different size than it should be then. And it's kind of interesting because, like, why would the friend say this? Their friend could be evil, they could be scared, they could be trying to reassure, they could have been mind altered to the point they don't see what reality and what reality should be in these horrible situations, which is kind of interesting. I hope no one swifted them, which is kind of interesting because judgment will be brought down upon them of holy vengeance and mighty wrath, possibly, in the end time when they all die anyway. Which is kind of interesting. And it could all be related in some sense of the way. Healing is psychic, example. Or like I had a dream about certain beings. Certain beings could be oracles or psychic, or certain beings could be oracles or psychic beings, even to do with aliens. Like I once had a dream about a certain being, like a darker lady, skinned lady with black hair, with curly hair, with her favorite shirt on, and this lady was like turned into a demon because of something to do with blood that happened, and she was reborn and rewarded in the cosmos, and other planets started to appear, other stars started to appear in the sky because like space was created at a certain point in the Bible, which is where aliens came into existence, and she was rewarded, and like Jesus or this person went with God and created like this race of blue alien people who was like their original or first race they created of aliens, which is kind of interesting. Certain beings are psychic, certain beings could have psychic ability, which reminds me of this dream about a certain being with the curly hair who was an ibit or an iPad, but it's pronounced ibit, which is like a beings that don't actually have eyes, but then some beings have eyes, and they're mistaken for this, and the eyes are stolen or taken out, which I thought was interesting because they're not all the same. Um, you know, not all the same as it looks. Some could be wrong, some could be right. And it reminds me, like, what if scrying is another word for scribing? It's like another way of saying scribing or a shortened version of scribing, scrying, scribing. Could be misinterpreted, could be this or that. Because I think it's interesting, it's avoided by something, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if that's accurate or correct, but I thought it was kind of interesting theory that I had while I was writing this. A little bit tipsy. I had like a whole last bottle of Little Fat Lamb. The lamb is an interesting fucking drink. It reminds me to do with blessings being feared. Um, I don't know what the fuck I wrote there. Some may be declared something and it comes through as a cylinder or seeds or swords. I don't know what that said. Some might be allegedly declare something by certain people coming through as a cylinder or a sword. But certain people might be associating or declaring this because they themselves are involved in some evil or wicked situation, and they're stealing from this person or draining the situation or hiding something, are involved in a situation and scared they're going to get caught as well, which I think is kind of interesting and scary. Like, they could be hiding the truth from these people because they know the truth. They know they're fucked and they know they're evil and wicked for no reason, and that these other people aren't even that. They're just born a certain way. And that's okay as long as they do the best with what they are and what they got and make the situation. Because, like, in the original Bible or the Bible I read, um, beings would only be punished for the sins they committed. So, like, if you wanted to, in the original Bible, get the punishment or be punished, you had to commit the crime to meet the punishment. Just because you're born as something doesn't mean you get punished for being that. Sure, you're born as that, which is kind of like paying for the sins of your forefathers, but you had to commit the crime to meet the punishment, which was interesting. Which is like faith and faithfulness and consequence and actions that will come on people who might be scared or worried in a situation. You have to do your best. I believe that God created the earth, so God is love as well. Like love is part of God, and God is part of love. And they will know the actions and consequences for these things and what happened, and they will know why you did it, and they will know your intentions just because you had and didn't thought it. So they will know where and why and how and what you did it for and why you did it. Which is kind of like, if these actions are forgotten and the people that died forgotten are not. Gods, aliens, space, creation, dreams, and the blue people origins is all kind of interesting theory, which reminds me of another dream I had about like people that look like the Ivites being Palpanians and their planet, and they threatened to blow up a planet, and then these other beings who had time travel capabilities found out, and their planet ended up being the desert wonderland because they just put the bombs back on themselves through time, which was kind of interesting because they're like, no, it's not okay. And it reminds me of this part of like the Bible I thought I swore saw or read as a child, which is like a swarm of earth angels. I can't remember the number. I think it was 400 or 100, which somehow becomes 101 or 401 earth angels in disguise at the end for the apocalypse, which is kind of interesting. And each of them is capable of taking like 100 to 1,000 demons, depending on them, which I thought was kind of interesting. So they're basically fine secretly. Um, which reminds me of the theory to do with this dream about that, about the extra additional dimension and the cosmic stethoscope. Basically, like God is basically just apparently not there or declared to be not there. He's not there, and he's secretly out there judging, and he has his almighty cosmic stethoscope, and he's basically just listening to the door of the dimensions through space and time cosmos, and he's hearing and saying and judging everything that happens in his absence to see what is what and what is true and what is real, which reminds me of the false gods, false idols, and cynicism, false angels, and gods in merry force or many forces. Which also reminds me of a dream I had as a child, another dream, like on my pointless video dreams about monsters and being the gardens of the night, guardians of the night, and actual monster beings who were born as monsters, and how they didn't have to be evil because they were bitten or cursed or born. They got a choice and they could choose to be these guardians of the night, which was kind of interesting. I thought like beings who already knew they were monsters, and this situation with us of that, which I thought was kind of cool and interesting. Which reminds me of another dream I had as a child, while I was asleep, another dream about these three angel beings, kinds of angels, which was like the angel of balance who had everything as their domain but nothing at the same time. They just stepped in when they needed to because it was imbalance. The earth angels who had tails where the other had wings, where the others had wings, they had tails where the other had wings. Um, and they represented the animals of the earth because they were linked to the earth, just like the angels with wings were linked to the sky and the heavens. These beings were linked to the earth, so they had tails. If it was water, it'd be scales, but that was not in my dream. That's just an assumption. And there was the life angels linked to life, who were like beings of energy, blessings, magic, life, fertility, sex, essence, all these different things and emotions. Um, it's your gain or loss or fail situations. Know what you know, do what you do. Or a dream I had. This is another dream I had about evil beings called Jinn. Um, to do with like someone at a server station in a town I used to live in, Karatha. Something happened at a servo, and these beings were like stealing people's faces and switching them out and trying to turn them into robots or this or that. And they were like turning these people's faces into flashlights against their will, and they were raping people and doing horrible things. And they like purposely crushed someone to death between two trailers, which was interesting and scary. Yeah, and certain people or beings were associated with and knew this, and like in this dream, they thought it was the apocalypse, and there was like a werewolf there at night, and they were running through places scared, and like they went to the school and they thought it was the apocalypse, and there was all these people in the school town. They thought they were here, they thought they were there, which was kind of interesting, and they just closed the door. Um, kind of reminds me of interesting situations to do with the hospital and situations, and certain hospitals might deem you crazy, but you could have spirituality, and they're like, oh, we don't believe in spirituality, so we're allowed to lock you up for a year or two because we don't believe in your spiritual beliefs. Or even if there's like healing and they believe in alternative healing, but it's a spiritual religious practice, and they say apparently that's not okay, you need to be locked up for years. Or someone has dreams that turn out to come into fruition or be real in real life, and they're jealous or scared, or this and that, and there's epiphanies made and happened, which is kind of interesting. Um, I don't know what I wrote there. I was like, I don't know what I was thinking about when I wrote this because I was thinking, what is the what? What is the holy herb? Or what is the holy herb really about? Um, you know, what could it be? I used to believe, in my mind that the holy herb, the herb of legend, the holy herb that would be figured out later in time, was marijuana, because marijuana sometimes makes people look different. It brings out their truths and what they hide, and their true forms and things about themselves they hide. So I used to believe it was the holy one, the holy herb. Spiritually, I thought it was like a good spiritual practice for spiritualism, and it brought out the truths, and it brought out the psychosis, and it brought all these things from the surface out, and people would tell the truths on it as well, and all this kind of interesting stuff. I'm really gonna fucking pee. I'm gonna pee and have a motherfucking cigarette, and then come back and finish this drunk ass pointless video. No. Okay, so I'm gonna start this off. This is not something I had in the written down bits, but kind of like have a theory or thinking about this. So, if in the angels in the Bible, right, and Lucifer was the light bearer, and Lucifer, when he's fallen, it doesn't depict his wings as going black, does it? Some versions depict him as being a seven-headed dragon and saying he's the dragon, and the dragons are the children of the fallen angels, also, or dragons are devils, but some versions say dragons have scales, or they're scale beings who have scales to measure the balance, so they could be dragons as well. But if Lucifer in all depictions in that has white wings and he's a fallen angel, and some versions of the Bible state that the priest cloaks would be as the angel's wings, then why do the good priests wear black cloaks? I'm not saying black wings are the good ones or the non-fallen ones, but it's kind of interesting. It's just a theory. It could be either. There could be all different kinds of motherfucking colors and wings. And it's supposed to be depending on the one you worship or respect or do the most. You're supposed to have many colored cloaks. Like, it could be red cloaks for the red ones or blue ones for the blue ones or this or that, which is kind of interesting. Which also reminds me, this is probably going to be blasphemy, but, um, you know, if spells are supposed to do with rituals and making a circle, out of salt or putting herbs in a jar and putting herbs and casting these things with words, then why are spells and prayers like the same or different? Like, I don't know, it's weird. Like, you pray to someone, you pray and you say your words, right? And it brings down the blessings and the actual physical reactions we can see from prayers. Then who says spells aren't prayers but evil prayers? Or wicked prayers, or like different sides of prayers. Who says spells aren't also prayers? It's just good and evil spells and good and evil prayers, you know what I mean? Who says they're not the same thing as well, which I thought was kind of interesting, but also not true. Possibly it's kind of like an interesting view. I don't want to get anyone confused or punished or that's me for if it's real, but it's kind of just like an interesting thought I have that may or may not be true depending, which is kind of interesting. Like situations and relevancy could be shown. Like my ex, Sam, who also tried to go by Samuel, which I didn't really want to date, but there was horrible situations, and their parents were all like, "Oh, we can't handle them. We're scared. We can't handle them. We can't look after them. So please just go with this and pretend to date them and look after them and like be a carer and look after them for me," which was kind of interesting. And I didn't want to do a lot of situations where I'd really be a horrible bitch person. But this particular person, they went out and they joined gang. They like tried to rape and murder me and people in my sleep a bunch of times. They once like tried to assault me and like they kicked me like 20 to 200 times, and I slapped back and hit them back, and they're like, "Oh, I'm bruised. You're abusive, blah blah." And I was like, "What about my legs?" Um, but yeah, um, they also tried to assault me, and I like went backwards and hit my head against the wall and passed out. And when I woke up, I had a few fingernails removed, and they're going to smash my teeth in with a rock and like make me unidentifiable and this or that, which is kind of interesting. This person went out and joined gangs to do this or that, and then they sent like rapey people and they're like, take a picture of the rapey situations. It's like, look, I got proof of them cheating, but this proof of someone cheating was actually proof that they had sent someone out to rape them, and they use it to their advantage, and they went out and joined these gang situations. And if it ever gets brought into light, they're probably gonna be like, I was unwilling, there was scary people there, there's people like this or that there. But all these people on their own, even in their little groupies, are kind of like pathetic ass bitches when it comes down to it in many situations. It's like, do your own shit, deal with your own shit, try to be a little groupies, but you ain't shit when it comes down to it. Sure, in any of these given situations, I could lose like fucking that. But, you know, the fact that they have to do these groups and gang up shows how pathetic they are. Although I'm not saying if you're ganging up, if you're good joining a group or like a church situation or joining a group to survive because these people are scarier than you and you are not ready or ready for this, or like to provide or survive for this, then joining a group could be a good idea if you're doing it good or to survive because you're not actually a horrible person. Many people just see you as this. I think it's a different situation as long as you don't end up becoming that thing that you hate or despise so much. Um, that's okay. My ex is same person. They themselves made many claims about being this and that and the destroyer of worlds in their opinion, and this and that, which I thought was interesting, but I don't believe them. Um, you've even got like false addictions or false addicts to certain things or situations. Like, I have my theory about marijuana being secretly the holy herb, and that's why so many people try to destroy it, and the devil tries to claim it's their own. But like, it reveals the truth, it reveals people's true forms, it reveals their truth, and it reveals their intentions. It could reveal beings' true forms and this or that, or their true colors and their true nature, but it could also not be. I have a very spiritual belief when it comes to that. Um, yeah, you've got like abuse and aggression. Some people are abusive and aggressive and they hide it and lie about it. I can't remember why I read that, but I just read abuse and aggression, which is interesting. I mean, I'm not saying someone in this situation has like got pissed off and fought back and decapitated someone with their thighs, or just like put the thumb and the point in the neck and get with your thighs and like do a twist around 3 times and the head just pops off. But that's obviously not real. But that was a dream I had, which was kind of interesting. Um, to do with the. It also reminds me of the swarm of Earth Angels hidden to help or save the situation because there's these horrible evil bitch beings who's like use things against people. Because to me, preying on the weak or the innocent or someone who doesn't deserve it, like someone who you deem to be undeserving of this, that is horrible. Even if someone is a bad person, they don't deserve to go through these horrible things and dies. Sure, there is the exception of this person's gonna like rape and murder people and do horrible things, and it's to save a life or survive. That's kind of a different situation. But it's like, why would you do that? Um, it can be all in relevancy situation, like even to do with someone being not what they see or think, because when it's given to the situation, they do what they want for them and what they need to be themselves or allegedly survive and be the best they can be, and that's all I remember. But like, even with my mother, like, my stepfather was forcing me to wash and touch myself in the shower in front of him and like wash my penis extra good when I was like a child and teenager. And I went to my mother about it thinking she would love and care and help. But she turned around and like pushed me over in the shower and tried to hurt me and assault me and was like, oh, you're just the whore that's trying to steal my husband, and was involved in with my brother and getting my brother and her to spread all these rumors and lies about me and blah blah blah. And I was like, fuck you. They spread all these lies and rumors about me. I was like, screw you, fuck you. I don't remember what the WT means, but I put all these words meaning things. It kind of reminds me of the situation to do with a psychic being. Like, I was in a shop getting it. Some of them thought I stole, but I was like, no, I bought these stones here before. I just had them in the pouch thing I bought, and I did not steal these. I already had them purchased. You're so wrong. That's not even funny because I've already bought these before, and they are not stolen. But reminds me of a situation to do with the psychic lady there. She's like, a tower moment will come out of this, and it'll be the best outcome for me because I saw this. It'll be the best outcome for. I don't know why I said me. It'll be like the best outcome for it in a situation of someone. To do with the psychic lady. Um, Whenever she drew my card, this is representative of the fact that my father is like not a nice evil being, or my stepfather, even on both of them. She was always like, she drew it 3 times. She drew the devil for my father, the devil card, which was kind of interesting. I don't think it's relevant or accurate at all, but it does show that allegedly, like, certain people might not be good, or like parents are not always these safe, good beings that you represent or see. She was convinced they knew that they had saw it because she had done it. But yeah, it shows you that not everything is good, as good as it seems, when not everything is as straightforward as it seems, because some of these beings could be these probably evil beings. Like, you got to understand to do with these situations, like, uh, you know, certain beings who invented evil or lying in their origins are going to be very fucking good at lying and manipulating, and it might not always be as it seems. Um, yeah, I forgot what the next point of that was. Something to do with my blasphemous false beings and my old roommate Kyla charmed to an evil uncle of someone. And diamond energy, like an energy that was a wavy energy before something in this dream, which was kind of like this just wavy energy someone possessed. Like a girl could do it, and this particular girl knew that it was life force, and when she wasn't draining energy or magic from people, she was draining life force. But like in this or someone that I could do it was explained as diamond energy, which was kind of interesting. Um, yeah, diamond energy. Someone was forming diamonds. But it's kind of interesting because diamonds aren't the strongest things out there. I'd rather be platinum or even iron or steel, because diamonds themselves, when exposed to sound or extreme sound, can shatter. So like sound can defeat diamonds as well. Because if sound is used powerfully or enough, it can shatter or defeat a diamond, which I thought was interesting. These people could decide to go together and become each other, so the diamond can have the sound can be like attuned to diamonds and have diamond sounds, and the sound could be diamond, and the diamonds could have sound in them and get attuned to and used to sound, so that they work together, which is interesting. It reminds me of something to do with this TV show I watched, Winx, an episode I watched I never saw, about a diamond and a sound fairy having their hearts missing. Um, like a diamond and sound fairy are missing their heart, and then they showed no, crystal fairy. It could have been a crystal fairy, not a diamond fairy. Sorry, like quartz. And they showed the heart of the missing fairy, which is kind of like this necklace they always used to wear that someone was using to, like, someone was even shoving them in unmentionable horrible places and making them feel bad. And it was like this necklace with this little crystal ball on it for the um crystal fairy that was someone stole and was using it to control someone, which I thought was interesting. Um, but that's probably just because I fell asleep or something. I thought it was interesting. Um, yeah, I'm gonna do a few card reading situations on these situations or these sorts. None of it makes sense. It might make sense to someone. Like sometimes in my readings, I get accurate answers and this or that. Sometimes they make reading sense. Sometimes they make no reading. Sometimes there's certain things or certain parts could make readings to someone. Some of the reasons I'm doing this is because I've been watching all these videos, and these people are always explicitly talking about certain people to do with this or situations that me and I know. Sorry, I was just doodling when I did this. This terrible, terrible drawing or doodling situation thing, which I thought was kind of interesting. Um, yeah, let's see. So I'm just getting one card from this that I've drawn before, which is Fernia, being clarity on a situation or insight of clarity on a situation which was unknown or unseen before, which I thought was kind of interesting. So we've got clarity. Okay, so this to do with the Prophet Oracle card, which is kind of interesting. Kind of reminds me of my housemate in the videos claiming she's an ancient evil in disguise that's very good at manipulation and escape from somewhere and has done this a million times before. And I think this went a bit missing from my nose, but she literally is in this video that showed her their exact depiction of whether or not trying to turn people on people, showed her as being this ancient evil being that ate babies not out of necessity, but because she wanted to and was really evil and manipulative. Um, Yes, and she pretends to be something she's not. And she would usually do this because men refused her. And she's like, I'm the shit. I'm beautiful. She'd even just be like, she was quite beautiful. So she would use this to advantage. She'd be like, literally like, I'm beautiful. I'm pretty. And she'd be distracting from the fact she was literally murdering someone or eating a baby or had just been caught out at that exact point in time. So they just look and they'd actually see it. In the past, make not a bond of love, marriage. In the present right now, we have the earth delights to feel your bare feet, and the winds long to play with your hair. Clothes. I love this because I love walking barefoot and feeling the earth on my feet and feeling the earth as it's meant to be. And I love the wind and feeling the wind in my hair sometimes, or the wind when it's good or bad and it makes you feel good or it matches your mood. And sometimes when you're walking along, you just forget to do your hair. You don't have time and you're walking along and the wind's just like, and like it just somehow does your hair for you. And it's like, well, thank you, wind, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so for our future outcomes opportunity, to the truth you hold, sorry, to the earth yields her fruit, buying and selling. I'm getting a more positive situation on this than the past with buying and selling to do with like hopefully not stealing children and buying and selling them, which is kind of interesting. We've got when love beckons to you, follow love. We've got the gates of his heart were flung open. The conjuring spirit, the coming of ship. Kind of reminds me of this dream I had about a summoner or the summoner to do with shrine maidens and someone who was the actual shrine maiden who was supposed to be the next shrine maiden or the shrine maiden of legends and like a someone knew and found out, so that like stole someone's vagina or like disguised their vagina so they look like a man, which I thought was kind of interesting but not true. Sing and dance together and be joyous, marriage. Okay, so for this one, I've got the deck upside down, so I'm going to turn it all upside down and make it clear. We've got the Ten of Fire. Too much work, accept help from others. Life is to shine. Life is out of balance. Stress-related health concerns. So stop stressing so much. Do what you can do your best in your capability because you're not capable of doing any more than your best. So as long as you do your best, you can forget the rest. I'm not saying forget the rest, especially if you're trying to help someone, but like do your best and that's all you can do. So don't stress because you can't do any more than that. And if you're not capable of doing any more than that, then no one should expect that more of you. Sure, you might take like the consequences or feel responsible for something when you were just trying to help and you're not responsible for it, but don't let that weigh you down because you made the situation better for at least someone or one person. And even if it doesn't end up so good now, it doesn't happen worse in the future and it doesn't happen to someone again or it doesn't happen to someone in another situation. You're fixing this situation for the better, as bad as it seems now. It stopped it from happening to a lot of people in the future, you know what I mean? If you stop this bully, you stop this abuser, you stop this situation. Just because you lost someone now doesn't mean it's bad because you lost someone and that's a horrible thing and it is still a bad thing, but you stopped it from happening to someone else in the future. And so many more of those people were saved and never had to go through this, whether they grow up to be abusers or fucking junkie or lollipop addicts or this or that, you know. It stopped them from going through that thing. So we've got a happy outcome, a brilliant new idea that leads to success, and someone having confidence in themselves and their abilities. Don't try too hard. Like when it comes to working at a burger shop, even was like telling these people at the burger shop, don't try to go too fast. Try to just do the best you can do. Because if you're trying to do it the best you can, if you're trying to go too fast, you're going to make mistakes and miss things or go too fast. But if you're just trying to do the best you can do, you're going to do so much better and get a so much like better burger. And like when people were trying to do the best they can do in the best timing they could without going too fast, that they would slip up or slip or miss something, they were getting the best burgers that possible. And people are like, how are all these people going fast? It's like, well, you just got to do the best you can do. Don't try to go fast. Don't try to go too fast. Just do the best you can do, and when you've got what you need, then go forward with it, and worry about yourself and your stance and your stature as well, and do the best that you can do. Don't try to do better than you can do, because that's just going to make you slower, and it's going to make the burger incomplete or worse. And the burger might like be complained about because it's not properly made, or it's not properly formed, or it's not a proper thing or a situation. You know what I mean? Get your burgers right, people. And in the future, we have victory leading to good news and success being on the way. I'm seeing a white horse. Public recognitions, renewals award, or an animal. So someone being gifted an animal, or working with an animal, which I think is kind of interesting. Some situations are sad and horrible, but you can't blame yourself too much. It's gonna suck. It's gonna suck, and it's so much harder, especially at first. But as long as you do the best you can do for people in situations as you can, you be the best you can. That's all you can do, and it's the best you can do. And you did so much better than so many other people in these situations, and the best. And you made the change, and you made the difference, and you stopped this from happening to so many people in the future. Even though it's sad and hard to think about the people that went through this abuse or this situations in the past, doing the best and being the best you means the best outcome for the future people. And see, people will literally grow and get the opportunity to, they might even get the opportunity to be a little bit bitchy as a teenager or a child, and get the luxury of like living a life where they are a little bit of a bitch sometimes, and then they grow to be a nice, beautiful person, or to make artwork, or to fail and to succeed, and do all the things that everyone else gets to do. You know what I mean? You gave them the privilege of living that life, and you gave so many people the privilege of not being in these horrible situations of abuse. You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting. Okay, so we have someone who was not nurtured or cared for properly in the past, someone who was like too like, oh, you got to do this way, be this way, blah blah blah. You got to be pow pow pow, not like they're like shoot the gun, pow, 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 not see where the gun is, not feel where the gun is, not know where your gun is, not point the gun, just shoot the gun without knowing how to shoot the gun. You know what I mean? It's interesting. You got to give these people more information and nurture them in how to use the gun, not just expect them to use it and point it in the direction straight away, because they're growing and they're learning how to shoot. Don't expect them to shoot when they don't know how to use a gun. You know what I mean? Teach them how to use the gun, then how to shoot over 3 weeks or something even. In the present, we have the sunstone in reverse, Ra, light, radiant. So we have like Ba or Bu, darkness, vergence or convergence, which is interesting. I'm just making that up. I don't know what it actually is. I'm seeing disconnect or disconnecting from something. In the future, we have aquamarine, or a complication, or a complicated situation, a complication or complicated situation to do with something like an upcoming complication in the near future. Interesting. I should read more into the actual meanings of these cards, but I'm also like, yeah, I can't be fucking. I don't have time. Um, Liquid Crystal Oracle, the ones I did just then, I've got the full meanings in there by the Children of Light, by something or someone. We've got the Prophet Oracle cards by Gahali Gibras. Gahali Gibras? I say that really weird, and it makes me question. And then we've got the Oracle of the Dragon Fae, the Lucy Cavendish card, It's kind of interesting. It reminds me of something I was searching up today with something my grandmother once said on reminding people, which is kind of interesting. Ooh, what's this card? Straight out the cup, getting Nine of Pentacles, someone who is training their falcon or their hawk or their eagle to do something. Which is interesting. Someone's guiding or showing or training a hawk or an eagle or a bird. Something with focus to do a situation or do or be something, which is interesting. Maybe in relation to someone expecting something of someone when they don't know what they're doing already. It kind of reminds me of a situation to do with work. I was working at the burger shop, and I had like one or two shifts on making burgers, And like someone was like, "Can you make this burger?" And I was like, "Well, what do I do to make the burger? Like, what do I make it out of? I got to be sure." And they're like, "Oh, it's this burger. Everyone knows how to know this burger. How can't you know how to make it?" I'm like, "Well, I've made this before. I've made it at a different workplace, but I don't know how to make this. So you've got to tell me how to make it." And they started going on and kind of being a dick, like, "Oh, you don't even know how to make it. This is ridiculous." Blah blah. I'm like, "Well, this is literally my training shift. You know what I mean? How can't you show me how to make it?" And then after that, burgers came on that I didn't know how to know, so it was Big Mac. So I just made it straight away and put it there. And then like 30 seconds later, they're like, "You got to make that burger. It's there." And I was like, "It's already done." They're like, "No, it's on the screen. You got to do it." I was like, "It's already done." And then they made it, and it was made twice, and it just went to waste. And they're like, "How the fuck did you do that so quick? Show me." I was like, "Well, told them the theory about doing the best you can do, not anything else." I was like, "You've also got to actually teach people when they're in training, not be a dick because they don't already know how to do it because you learn how to do it already, and that makes you fucking superior somehow. You're gonna lead up down a bad path, and someone is related to someone, which is kind of interesting." But we all grow, we all learn, we all better ourselves, we all make mistakes. It's doing with what you have, with what you've got, and what you can. There can always be outside circumstances and situations and things to do with this, but yeah. Okay, so we've got three of cups and four of pentacles. Um, Three old friends meeting and reuniting who have three friends. Oh no, sorry, this one I'm saying old friends meeting and reuniting, but this is three people who have known each other in the past and hung out and chilled, partied, just chilled and vibe before. And we've got someone who is going to lend a coin or a helping hand. Someone's going to lend a coin or a helping hand to something in a situation. This is a robot arm, so I'm getting it's like something what might not be natural or something might be unnatural, but someone's going to give them something or give them a coin or lend them a hand or show them something. So we're getting someone who spares a coin and gives something to someone. And then we've got the Knight of Wands, a girl. I'm seeing the name Caitlin to do with this. Someone who's going to take up a weapon or a sword. Someone who's going to stand alone in a situation despite the odds. Someone who may receive scars, may even be knocked down, black out, but get back up again as a newfound being. It's kind of interesting. I'm seeing glyphs there as well. Um, in certain temple or situations. This person's going to have a coat or like a coat or a trench coat kind of thing on. Yeah, they're drawing a sword. They might even have a pen. The pen might be as a sword. I don't know. It's kind of interesting situation. I'm seeing someone who steps three times, and then four times, and then five times, and then back. And I'm seeing something about eight, which is interesting. But yeah, I might read the actual meaning of these. I might not. I don't know. We've got the hangman, someone who's locked up, contemplating, playfully looking at a situation, planning what to do. Someone who is joyous or happy, who might seem like a crazy kook man person. Someone who knows what they're doing. They've got their staff. They're controlling something. They're making like light of a situation. They're getting rain to release a storm. Like something has been frozen over, and they are calling for something to kind of like melt this ice or melt an icy heart and make something go back and revert to what it was and what it should be. It's kind of interesting. It's also kind of scary because fuck that. But certain situations suck, but you got to do the best with what you can and what you do. And we all make mistakes, but we got to do the best with what we can and what we got, and we got to be ourselves and let what we have let happen and be the best and do the best we can be. This video has been going on for way too motherfucking long, but some of them have sometimes. You got the Seven of Swords, someone of many different colors, someone many different aspects to someone or someone's personality or soul. Maybe someone with multiple heritages or backgrounds. Um, Someone who is carrying swords, carrying something for someone, but they also have one of their own. Um, we have two planted firmly in the background. Someone who is carrying three, and they have one of their own. We've got someone who's got like secretly like kind of messed up or ruffled hair, but they've just done it into a nice bun, hiding or disguising something, someone who is being very sneaky and walking forward to something on their own. We have an extra hidden curved sword, so something is not quite as it appears. Which is this one. It's kind of a pretty one. I'm getting somewhat of a multi-diverse mixed background. Looking like something being not quite what it appears or seems. Someone who's going to move forward into something. Maybe someone even in a black outfit, wearing like an outfit of a black leather outfit or a black outfit of something. Someone who's going to like cut something. Someone who will have a diamond or a gem. I'm seeing something Gilgon. Maybe like a place for storing something or keeping something, which is interesting. I'm seeing a timer and a clock. I don't know if it's running in the right direction, but it's kind of interesting. I was going to say kind of evil, but it's interesting. I'm seeing a rainbow in the background forming between two mountains in a cave, and there is a waterfall, kind of like the picture of Gaia, the card of Gaia, and Gaia's family and son, which is kind of interesting. You know, maybe this could even do someone multi-cost diverse background, someone not quite as they seem, someone switching or mixing something out, someone mistaken for someone else, someone who has gone through something wrongly or accused of something wrongly as well. But there could be someone also guilty in this situation. It might not be the person they think. Something could have even been stolen and switched out for someone else to get what they wanted. Like allegedly, apparently, or possibly. Let's see what this answer holds. The Book of Answers holds. Again, with the multiple, diverse, mixed background, I'm getting something was actually just a bunch of different things, and something might not have been quite what it seemed. Some days are just hard. They help us appreciate easier times. And I'm going to do another one from this. Is it this page or this page? I think it's this page or this page. When someone gives you the gift of time, accept it graciously. It may be all they have to offer. Kind of interesting and sad and scary. Which one was this? When in doubt, be kind. If you are kind first to yourself, then you will feel kind towards others. Learn to love yourself and accept yourself so you can put that love onto others and show the newfound love in you. Life can't be lived in a vacuum. You need to get out of there and let the universe reveal its plan for you. Don't be stuck in the fucking succubus vagina of existence. That's kind of a really bad hard analogy, but yeah. You don't need to make your ancestors proud, they already are. You need to do the best you can do and what you can do and just keep doing what you're doing and be the best you can. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Scatty. I'm seeing something to do with kinetic energy here as well. Like energy in all the forms. Like you've got the latent energy, static energy, kinetic energy, and all these different things. So maybe something to do with someone who has gifts to do with all the different kinds of energy and various forms of energy as well. Kind of interesting. Energy can also be sound. It can be this. It can be that. It's kind of interesting. You could do kinetic shield. You can make yourself tougher with energy. You know, energy itself in energy form could form as any ability or gift. There's hot energy, cold energy, sound energy, this energy, that energy. Energy forms or put in various forms could do like or be or mimic anything, kind of like mimicking abilities rather than copycatting them is interesting. Got my little drawing here. It means nothing, but I was kind of interested in trying to draw it. But yeah, let's see. To finish this off on my terrible, terrible, terrible videos, I got a rune. Oh shit! I got 3 runes. I've got Gibo gift. A gift is about to come or show. Fuhu meaning cattle, so someone has sought the Someone has helped something grow or develop and is going to seek the rewards of the situation. Oh, and then we've got Gibo or gift again. So there's two gifts, or two gifts or blessings, and something is a cattle. Something is cattle being sold by something or a situation. Someone's gonna fix or make this out, or someone's gonna get the rewards for their efforts, which I think is kind of interesting. Um, but yeah, I don't think the further explanation could be done or needed, but it probably could. But oh well, figure it out for yourself. Thanks, love, bye, peace.